Hello one and all, and welcome to this week's edition of Crazy Critique. The cinema release film I am reviewing this week is the film Selma, and the classic film you'll probably already know from the title of my video what it is, but I'll give you another subtle hint. It's probably the one I'm pointing at right now in the background. So yeah, we'll get down to that later on, but of course firstly, Selma. And for those who do not know the story of the film, Selma is set around events involving Martin Luther King Jr. and his visit to Selma, Alabama, and with other civil rights leaders. It's in regards to the discrimination against black people voting in Selma and in generally in United States of America. It also focuses on Martin Luther King's interactions with the U.S. President at the time, Lyndon B. Johnson, who is portrayed by Tom Wilkinson. Very well, very well portrayed. Just about the amount of gravitas, and amazingly, he's a British actor. He does a great American accent. And also, going along with that sort of same theme, the governor of Alabama is played by Tim Roth, again, another Brit, with another great American accent. So, good on you guys, flying the flag high for Brits again in America. And the ultimate Brit playing an American in this film, of course, is David I've been saying his name all week and I've got it right, and as I come to record something I get it wrong. It's David Oyelowo, who of course is British, and he portrays Martin Luther King Jr. And for that even to occur in the first place, someone's got to say, well done sir, because you are taking on such an iconic character, what am I on about? An iconic human being. And yes, and for you to do that and be a Brit doing that is outstanding. Let's just go straight to the performance. His performance is brilliant. The speeches are great. His demeanour is great. His interactions with his wife, played by Carmen, I hope I get her name right, Carmen Ajogo. I really hope I've got that name right. I probably haven't. Sorry about that. Are truly fascinating, and this is probably what gets it out of predictable biopic territory. Is it doesn't just purely focus on the myth of Martin Luther King Jr. It focuses also on his home life and his interactions with his wife, which are clearly strained. It's a clearly strained relationship through all what they're trying to do in that moment in time. Both his wife is portrayed by Cameron Ajogo. Oh dear me, I'm really ruining this poor woman's name right now. She is also British, making that a fourth person playing an American who is British, so flying the flag high again. But yeah, straight back to David Oyelowo. Fantastic performance. Absolutely fantastic performance. Like I say, great demeanour, great speeches, great moments. I will refer briefly to his speeches in particular for a very particular reason, and that reason is that all the speeches in the film that David Oyelowo speaks as Martin Luther King Jr. were actually speeches written by the director herself, Ava DuVernay, are not actual speeches by Martin Luther King in real life. And the reason why that is, you may ask. Why is the reason? Why is that the reason, you may ask? Well, it is because of a bizarre sort of deal that the Martin Luther King estate has, is that they have effectively sold the rights to his speeches to Steven Spielberg. Who would have thought it? And Mr. Steven Spielberg has the rights to those speeches for a particular amount of time and to make a film. So that's why you will not hear any of his most iconic speeches in this film. But I must say, other than the obvious, which I know, and I must say I'm not very aware of every speech he made, Martin Luther King Jr., other than obviously the big famous one. If I didn't know that information, I would not have known, because it's the way David Oyelowo performs those moments and speeches. It just seems like they are the right words for the right man and at the right moment. Yes, so there we go. I just briefly mentioned that Ava DuVernay, the director, Fantastic job she's done here. There's always a balance with this sort of thing in bringing facts, but in an informed way, and still being able to entertain you for over 2 hours. And she has done that perfectly. It's perfectly paced. I like the pacing of it. Cinematography is great. Cinematography is great. There's I refer to moments in the film that are fantastic. There's like I said, the speeches with David Oyelowo that he performed in the churches, and there's a brief moment that's really interesting between Malcolm X and his Martin Luther King's wife. It's really interesting. A jail sequence that's really good, and the bridge sequences are just as tense as anything. Because not being a Brit, I am a Brit. Not being an American, I am not as ingrained with the story or intricacies of Martin Luther King's life and story. So I wasn't exactly sure what was going to be happening on these bridges. Maybe a bit ignorant of myself for not reading up about it before, but it was a truly tense moment, and perfectly paced. And yes, and the last thing I'm going to refer to about this film is about Common, the rapper, performs in this film also as one of these civil rights leaders, and he also does a song with John Legend that plays over the end credits of the film, which I think everybody's probably aware of, or anybody who's aware of the film, has been nominated for a best song at the Oscars, and it is a truly great song. I mean, over credits usually everyone's walking out, and there was so many people just staying there watching it, and it was such an important song, an important moment about an important subject, and it's a great song, and I'll end it on that. I think it's a great film, Selma. More people should go and watch it. I hope they do, and I hope if anybody's watched this, I hope that my own perspective on it has put you in the right direction. So yeah, there we go, Selma. Really good film. Now, I'm going on to probably what will be my biggest ever review of something, and my classic film review of the week is Aliens. As you can probably tell, I am a rather big fan. I will start with what I think makes this a classic film. First of all, I watched it at the cinema this very Monday, and it's always sold out. Whenever they show it, they always do a classic film showing there, the cinema branch I go to, and it is sold out every single time. It's on their roster every year to show because it is such a well-loved film. So in terms of the audience is there. It's such an impactful film. It has impacted a whole generation after generation after generation of fans. Secondly, the way it's held up so well in terms of its effects and its... I'll purely focus on the effects because lots of films do not stand up. And the creature effects by Stan Winston are just absolutely outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. And the Alien Queen is just awe-inspiring, an awe-inspiring piece of puppetry that is just absolutely wonderful to observe. Everything from little scenes with the face huggers running through water, that was done in reverse time, with with reverse time with cameras. It's fantastic. Let's go through all the performances in this film. Sigourney Weaver, one of the rarities, she received a Best Actress nomination for this film in a science fiction film, and that should never be forgotten. That should never be forgotten because that is an important moment in cinema history. Not only was there a nomination in science fiction, but it was a woman in a science fiction, which is a rarity in itself also. She's fantastic in this film. Let's go along to the Marines. Michael Biehn, wonderful. Bill Paxton is probably the most... It made Bill Paxton a star, this film, and you do not forget him for the rest of your life after you've seen his performance in this film. His performance as Hudson is just wonderful. He embodies something in you, but even bigger. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Is fantastic. Carrie Henn, lots of her lines of dialogue have gone through into cinema history. I won't say what they are. We all know what they are because they're so quotable. Yes, they're kind of funny, but they should be appreciated in their own way also. She was a Brit. Um, she wasn't an actor actually. It was an audition process that James Cameron went through to get her. For people who have not acted, and she was the product of that, and I think that is purely fantastic. Also, it lends a different perspective and performance to the film in that way. Jeanette Goldstein, Vasquez, tough hombre, absolute tough hombre. Um, Paul Reiser, who works for the company, and for those who have seen the films, that's not a good sign usually. He has lots of nice sneery and snooty moments and booable moments. William Hope as Lieutenant Gorman, just the ultimate flapping about lieutenant. How there's so many great performances in this film. I'll go on for that because I could just keep going and going and going. Like I say, the effects by Stanley are fantastic. The soundtrack by James Horner is truly wonderful. Creeping when it needs to creep, dramatic when it needs to be dramatic, and then or just utter relentless pace music, utter pace music. That is wonderful. Chase music, sorry, not pace music. Chase music at the end is just keeps your heart going and going and going. Wonderful. It is truly wonderful. And like we said, I've not even mentioned it. I've made James Cameron in passing. James Cameron, the audacity of James Cameron to take on a sequel to a film that was so heavily loved by critics and audiences and go a completely different way. Some will say that's the only way he could have gone. Fair point, but to do it and achieve it is something spectacular, in my opinion. It's something spectacular. It could easily be boiled down to it is Vietnam in space. Marines going in to a situation, thinking they're bigger than and they know better, get into an environment they do not know, and suddenly realise that they just are out of their depth. So where should we? Yeah, I'll problem is when I talk about aliens, I get a bit too excited, and I probably go a bit overboard in my praise. There's so much to admire about this film. It is a staple of the science fiction genre, in my opinion, and it is one of the best science fiction films ever made. And you've yet to hear a view of that stature and nature from me, and you might never again, because of my utter love for this film. This is probably my longest review I've ever done, and I apologise for that because I'm sure not many people are watching to this length of time, but there's a reason why I keep on talking about this film, and it is because it has such an impact on my life and the way I watch films, how it impacted my film viewing experience. And it's a fantastic, utterly fantastic film. I don't really want to say other than fantastic performances, great score, fantastic effects, brilliantly paced, wonderfully directed by James Cameron. It almost, I've no other words to describe it. It is a fantastic film. Everybody should watch this bloody film. Watch this bloody film that's in my background right now. And on that note, I will thank you for watching if you have. So Selma was the cinema release film of the week. That was a fantastic film. Totally different from my my classic film review of the week, Aliens. But that is why we all go to the cinema, for such diversity on the screen. I thank you once again for watching. I hope, if you've stuck in this long, to see you again another time. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.